Welcome to the Cheer Athlete, everyone. Today I have with me Kelvin Lam, who is I found on Instagram, and I know he's a coach, and I'm very excited to talk to you, Kelvin. He's a coach who does clinics and breaks down videos and comes in and does specific clinics. What I have loved about watching your videos is your cueing. That is really more external cueing, which I think is very important as we coach athletes in general. And so to find somebody doing that in the cheer world, I think is just amazing. So thank you for being here, Kelvin. Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you so much for inviting me and having me on here. A little bit about myself, from what perspective?
Well, so how did you get into, what's your background in cheer? And then how did you get into doing what you're doing today?
So my background in cheer, I started cheerleading in high school, and then cheered through college. As far as the schools, I transferred a few times to really until I discovered where I felt like I best fit into a certain program. And so right out of high school, I started at Sacramento State University, and then I transferred over to Hawaii Pacific University, and then I transferred again to the University of Hawaii, where I eventually called home for the rest of my college career. And then after I graduated, I moved out of Hawaii. I was born and raised in Hawaii, so then I moved away to San Francisco, or the San Francisco Bay Area, and I started my own business there. And then I started coaching at San Jose State University while concurrently running the business. And then during that same time, I was on the U.S. national team for 3 years. Let's see here. What led me into doing what I'm doing now? So in 2018, I actually took a hiatus from just being truly active in the cheerleading industry, mostly for family reasons. I started, so my wife and I, we had our second child, and then I don't know if you or if any of the listeners are really familiar with what the cost of living is like in the Bay Area in California. And so it just wasn't that conducive to raising a family. And so I quit my job at San Jose State, sold the business, and then I got into doing sales, account management for a large Fortune 100 corporation. And then in 2021, moved to the Dallas-Fort Worth area, and just kind of dabbled back into it, teaching private lessons. And a buddy of mine said, "Hey, you should, be more active on social media," because he was, at the time, Instagram was paying bonuses. It's not paying bonuses anymore. But I never got to the point on Instagram where I was making any money off of videos or anything. But I did take his advice and start posting on social media again. And yeah, it kind of just, dominoed from there.
So now you do private coaching? Do you travel around to do that? Are you just local?
So when it comes to one-on-one private lessons, I do that here in the local area, but I recently had to kind of put that on pause because I have been traveling so much. I'm booked pretty much every single weekend, where I'm traveling to a different location, working with teams on stunt technique.
Yeah, that's a lot for sure.
Yeah.
So, what are there 3 to 5 tips or so that you can give people to help improve their stunting? And that's a very broad question because, where they are and where they're at. But if somebody wants to, are there common themes that you're seeing along the way in the different teams that you could potentially?
Each team is pretty different as far as where they're at on things. And I think that has a lot to do with just the way that their coaches have been already running their program. And so I think a common theme that I see amongst teams that are generally more advanced um, are that the coaches are really particular about um, just having uniformity and not letting little um, even aesthetic things go by the wayside, much less technique, right? Um, they really want to make sure that everybody's doing the same thing the same way. And so one thing that is out there is, oh, my technique is right, that person's technique is wrong, this, that, and the other. And the truth is that there's multiple ways to go about doing any one particular type of stunt. And so I think the biggest thing is that those successful teams, their coaches decide on which way will be their right way, and they stick to it regardless, so that there's uniformity, there's consistency, there's a standardization, so to speak. That's one major thing. I think a lot of times, a lot of it really commonly, I think, comes down to the coach's confidence in him or herself as far as their own knowledge goes. I think a lot of times, not every program has the luxury, so to speak, of getting a coach that's been in the industry for a long time. A lot of times it's a mom of one of the athletes, or it's sometimes it's a coach of a different sport at the school, or whoever on the faculty maybe even has the time that could take on something like this. So I find that when they're in those situations, they think that cheerleading is something that's very unique, which when it comes to some of the technical things, they are. But when it comes to teaching strategy, it's really, you see it in all fields. It's pretty similar. You get your standard different categories of like the types of learners, and then all you do is you research what you feel like you need to know, and then you however it makes sense to you, so that you can then present it back to your athletes, and you make sure that you address each type of learner. And for the most part, you can end up being relatively successful as long as you continue to educate yourself. So I would say those are the kind of the two bigger things, I think, if I were to try to sum it up.
I think that can, when I was coaching, and it's been a while since I've coached in general, but there was and I cheered throughout college, but coming back into it, there was a level, I was a long time ago, and the stunting has just changed incredibly. So having somebody come in to help and provide that different eye and give different cues, I think can be very valuable in general. And how do you get to know their learning styles when you're only with them for a short period of time?
I don't. I don't. I end up just. That's why I pull up a group and I have a demonstration type of group, a demo group,
Yep.
and then I pull them through and I have them do the body motion, the body positions, go through the motions, the mechanics of it. So that's the kinesthetic type of thing. And then I try to make a word association so that, and related to something else that they know. So then I address that, the auditory, type. I try to find a way to concisely, as much as I can, address every one of those in the same presentation. So hopefully I capture as much of the audience as possible, but really I don't have the opportunity to really learn in each individual's learning style.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's hard, even just on a like year-round coaching of a team. That could be challenging, and there's so many different and different personalities anyways.
Absolutely.
Do you have a process that you go through, like with the video submissions or looking at the videos and how you're doing that online, and or getting to talk with the coaches? Like, how does that process work prior to going in?
You mean operationally, or what do you mean?
I guess operationally, but do you have a process that you talk to the coach? Like, so if we talk team wise and you're going to go there, like, do you have a process that you talk to the coaches ahead of time, kind of obviously knowing what they're looking for? But then if somebody's submitting things to you, like how does that work? And you're giving them feedback. It's two totally different questions.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. So as far as booking me to come out and work with a team, it generally starts with a conversation similar to this, where I get to know the coach a little bit. I get to understand what that coach's perspective of the program is. And then when we get to talking about what they're looking for, I think a big thing that I want to know, a couple things. One is, why specifically me? I mean, a lot of coaches talk about they see me on social media and all these things, but at the same time, I understand and I'm sensitive to the fact that they're flying somebody in versus finding somebody local in the area. And I think how they answer that question really helps me determine whether or not it's going to be a good fit in the first place. Because I understand that not only is my teaching style relatively unique to me, but then the technique that I teach can also be perceived as unconventional compared to what's been in our industry for a long time. And so if that doesn't line up, then I can almost imagine that it wouldn't be the best learning experience, or just the best experience in general for anybody. And the last thing I want is buyer's remorse. And so I want to really make sure I understand what it is, that they're wanting. And I find that question typically gets underneath that. And the other big one is, like I alluded to, that the technique that I teach is relatively unconventional compared to what's been in the industry for a long time. And so that's the other thing that I really try to align with them on, is just making sure they understand that, and that me teaching them that is truly what they want. Sometimes I hate to call it out, but sometimes I'll get coaches that are like, hey, we just want somebody different to come in with a different eye and say the same things we've been saying to them, but in a different way or something like that. And it's like, okay, that's typically one of those red flags for me, that they don't really see the true value in what I'm teaching or what I'm offering. And so those ones I'm a little bit more hesitant. So that's where, when I hear that, then I'll ask more questions to kind of dig deeper and try to really understand what they mean by that. I think those are the big things for that one. And then through that process, they really, they share a lot with where they're at with the program and what it is that they're actually looking for. So that helps me there. But when it comes to knowing how to support that team, a big reason why I start with just the very beginning and work my way through is because that allows me to see where they're truly at. So I make my own assessment based off of that. And it's drill heavy, it's merit based. So however quickly they move through and show me 90 to 95% proficiency at whatever it is that I introduce, tells me how fast I can move. As far as the video submissions go, when they send me a video, or at least when they send me a request, I let them know, okay, hey, I want a shot from the front, from the side, or wherever you feel like are some important angles to show me things that aren't typically seen. But for the most part, what goes on in my head is I'm looking for certain patterns. I'm looking for certain things to line up. And even if it's a skill that I've never taught before for myself, I know general principles that should apply to maximize the efficiency of certain mechanics.
How you touched on, this is I think the reason that I was drawn to talking with you is that you do teach in a different way. How and why did you learn how to get, like, because your wording can be is different, and I I think in a great way, because I think it's body awareness, but it's also not like, pull right to center. There's more to it. So how did you get into that, and how did you, or why did you start coaching like that?
I can take very little credit for that, actually. So my coach at the University of Hawaii, he still coaches there. His name's Mike Baker. I'd say best coach I ever had. He introduced that style of coaching and learning to me. I think it really was effective for myself because going, through high school, through college, even through the U.S. national team, I was always one of the smaller bases on the team. And the technique that that the bigger bases could do, because of their size, their strength, their weight leverage, I couldn't necessarily execute the same things to achieve the same results. So I had to, I was constantly seeking greater efficiencies to maximize what my body and my strength could execute. And so that's one. But two, under Mike's mentorship and coaching, I got to see just how to be more specific with certain things to communicate a feeling. And I think that really, that was interesting because that helped me through my own journey. But then I think that became more of a necessity for me as a coach when I tore my bicep tendon. I had a major injury that prevented me from being able to physically step in to stunt so that my athletes could learn the certain feeling and rhythm and timing. So then I had to get creative with my words and be able to do that verbally.
That's a tough lesson to come by, but I think it carries over into a lot of, like you have to learn to communicate better in that end. And the reason I like your style so much is that I think it's very injury prevention, or reduction based, and the more you can train someone to feel what they're feeling, know what they're feeling, why they're feeling it, and know where their body awareness, teach body awareness, the better they're going to progress into everything. And I very much admire the merit based, like you have to be able to do X, Y, and Z to be able to get to the next level. And that's that. I think we forget that sometimes when we're trying to just push and get to a routine and just go.
Yeah. Oddly enough, I can't remember if it was Robert Kiyosaki or it was one of those business books. It might have been one of his books or things after Rich Dad Poor Dad that I was reading, and it gave an acronym for fear, or it turned fear into an acronym. Or it might have been Zig Ziglar. I can't remember now, but they said that FEAR, fear, stands for fail early and responsibly. And I'm sure the athletes could experience some fear, but for me as a coach, one of my fears was that they would get hurt under my supervision, and that's somebody else's child. Yeah. And so for both of our sakes, I tried to come up with as many stages so that they could fail responsibly earlier than the supposed end result that they were looking for, so that they felt good and I felt good about what they were doing. So I think that kind of added to that coaching style.
Yeah. That's cool. Taking a business book and turning it into a coaching, it's a good philosophy in general, and it's one that can carry over not just in the business. And so very cool.
Yeah, Jordan Peterson actually said something about this too, where when trying to achieve a goal or when trying to learn a skill or something like that, that a lot of times we set our own bar too high. And we need to get better at setting the bar low so that we can achieve it, build confidence. I don't know if he said the build confidence part, but typically you end up building confidence when there's repeated evidence of success, right? Yeah. And then you you go from there, and then you set the bar just a little bit higher so that's a little bit out of reach, and we have to stretch for it, but we can still attain it. And I think that's just strategically, I've come to believe that that's just a little bit smarter way to go for myself anyway.
Yeah, I mean that fits in a how your body learns style and neuroplasticity factor that you have to give it enough challenge that you struggle a little bit, but that you're able to then, once you can get there, but then keep challenging that so that you can keep progressing and building confidence and all that. And it carries over across the board in rehab and in skill acquisition. So
Sure, absolutely, 100%.
What do you have going on? Like, what's your summer look like? Do you have any projects coming on? Anything what's coming on next for you?
Yeah, I'm traveling a lot. I already have some teams booking me for 2024. So
Wow.
that's how
Yeah.
far in advance things are going. And like I'm literally traveling every weekend. And then I'm in the process right now of building I'm done building one online course. And I haven't launched it yet because I'm going through the process of selecting the platform I'd like to use for it. But then I'm going to be, putting out more, I guess, curated content to where it's more of a formalized course, so that maybe a coach or a program that doesn't have the opportunity to get me to go out with them due to scheduling purposes or money or anything like that they still have an opportunity to learn what I am teaching. Mostly with the goal of just being able to serve more folks. And then I'll be putting out more courses. From that, I'd like to, as part of that, one of my goals is to I guess, cultivate a community where they get interaction with me and each other, so that we can all hold each other accountable and hopefully help all these programs move forward. And yeah, that's kind of the project that's on my mind right now.
I think there's going to be a huge need. There's only so much time in the day that you can physically be there. And so having that for people to be able to access, and I think we want community, and we're, as cheerleaders, we're used to being part of a team and working together. And I think having that community too will be huge. So good. I'll keep my eye out for that and push for that as you get closer to launching and all that stuff too.
Yeah, thank you. Appreciate that. And I think with those courses, I think a big concern within the community is, just what is that experience going to be like? What's that experience going to be like? And the truth is I don't know. I don't think it's going to be like a lot of the courses for stunting that I've seen out there. Mostly because at least what I have seen is typically from, it's designed with the athletes being the desired audience.
Yeah.
So this is the grip, this is how it sets up, and then it goes from here, like that kind of stuff. I mean, there's a little bit of that, but then what I try to do to hopefully bring more value is to talk about it from a coach's perspective and my perspective, as far as why I'm doing certain things, what I'm looking for, and put it in the order that I feel like I've seen it successfully taught, so that they get the end result that they want. And because of that, it's not going to end up being like a huge library of 80 different stunts or what have you. It's going to be one stunt at a time, but so say, for example, just one of the stunts, the course that I have out now, it's only teaching one stunt, one type of mount, but there's like 32 different videos in there talking through each stage and each part of that process. So hopefully what that does is it delivers more value, even though they're only learning one stunt. It's not, it's the mechanics that help lead to other stunts as well. So I don't know if that made any sense, but hopefully that addresses the industry and the coaches in a different way that they find more valuable.
Yeah, I think that'll be really helpful. I think, if you go to a camp in the summer with your team, you get a little bit of coaching, but it's very consolidated because they want you out with your kids. And so having a little bit more specific, I think, can be very helpful in helping us as coaches, coaches that are out there. It's not, I'm not coaching anymore, but so I think that'll be very helpful. And I think you can grow with it a lot. So that's
hopefully.
Yeah. So coaches out, send them Kelvin's way. As far as maybe that'll help him progress his content also down the road. All right.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
Is there anything that I've missed that you wanted to share about today?
I don't know. This is your podcast, so whatever you want to talk about, and if if you'd like us to go over the 30 minutes, I blocked out an hour on my calendar just in case because I wasn't sure. So if you'd like to go longer, we can.
All right. Well, I wanted to talk about your coaching style and your how to reach where you're at. So how can people reach you? We'll wrap it up, and then I want to, maybe down the road we can get you back in and see where things are at, and when you're ready to launch and talk a little bit more, diving into more cueing and that kind of stuff for coaches as well. So how can people reach you and all of that, find you?
Yeah, so right now on TikTok or on Instagram, if you go to my profile, there's a link in that bio profile section. And that's the method that I'm using right now. Once I decide on a platform to host the courses, then I'm going to migrate everything over, but it shouldn't matter because that link should still be there. And when they get there, they have the ability to download my current rate card and then schedule a time on my calendar where we can talk about what it is they're looking for. They can also do like a virtual consult, 30-minute or 60-minute. That's where they can send video reviews. So everything's pretty much there. And then, I don't know. The only challenge I think is that because they have to download that PDF, when I do adjust prices or things like that, they still have to go back and find out what the new pricing is. So that's the only major challenge I see. If they had downloaded something from before and then expect that moving forward, it just might be different is all. Hopefully you got that on recording though.
Yes, I did. And the last thing I heard was that there's a PDF and that can be a challenge.
Yeah, just because, supply and demand, right? As the demand goes up, I feel like to make sure that I prioritize my time properly, pricing has to adjust with it. And so just with the pricing changes and things like that, if it's a PDF, then folks just have to understand to go back and re-download until I get to a different platform that can just have the pricing up there, so that it's constantly up to date. If not, then what'll happen is they might download the rate card this year, but then speak to me next year, and then the pricing would be different by then. So that's the only challenge.
And that's very understandable. That's where the conversation happens. And
right.
Yeah.
100%.
Thank you very much for being here, Kelvin. And I'm sorry for the electronic glitch. This is the way it is, right?
Yeah, absolutely. All good.
I look forward to seeing more and talking with you more in the future. I'm really excited that I got to meet you. And like I said, before we started recording, I'm a kind of fangirl, so I appreciate what you're doing. And I think I really like watching your videos. And so everybody go check them out, and we'll post all those links and everything also in the show notes. Everybody, that is the end of the Cheer Athletes episode for today. So have a great day. Don't forget, when in doubt, breathe it out. Take life one step at a time. And as my friend Drew Kelleher said, you are responsible for your own vibes. Go make it a great day.